Alrighty, hello there ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this 9 p.m. Zelda 1 2019 Randomizer round of 64 race already in progress here. As you can see, we have got CantFindBombs on your left in level 1 picking up a map. We've got Sharky2107 on your right. I am TGE, and with me, considering this is October and the Halloween season, I figured why not, let's get some spooky things in here. I've got Dead Boy with me.
Glad to be here.
And no, I'm not making that up. That's the actual username I'm reading in front of me, so that's not me trying to be October spoopy. That's actually the username I'm reading. So, well, first of all, welcome to some Zelda 1. You looking forward to it?
Oh yeah, I always love to have a good race, and the last one was pretty good, and I'm hoping these guys are just as
Well, the way these brackets have been, I have seen some absolutely crazy things. There was a race last night where someone was like 2 Triforces behind when the other racer went into 9, and the closing speed made it less than a minute difference. So these flags definitely allow for some interesting end-of-race shenanigans to happen. And it looks like we had a bait block potential here in level 5 over on Sharky's side.
The bait block in level 5 is one of the easier ones to get around I've seen. Just because of the sheer size of it, usually to me.
You're 100% correct there. On those bigger dungeons, you usually do have pretty good ways to work around it. And we already do have the Triforce here. The Pancake is enjoying its delicious Triforce, and we are going to get one here for sure.
Sometimes you just got a little too much metal in your diet.
Hey, if they want to be glowing neon lights, people call them Doritos, people call them whatever they want. As long as we're getting Triforces, I'm down with that. And speaking of which, we've got another one here in level 1 for bombs. Although, I think I prefer the one that Sharky found, because it's a much easier thing to deal with than having to maneuver through blue Wizrobes.
I totally agree. However, I am liking that the castles are pretty much just putting the Triforces out there. Here, come along and take it. Just take a little damage while...
Yeah, absolutely nothing wrong with that. Although we do have a start of something interesting here, as the beginning of these tend to have early key issues, and there is the floor item in 1. It is the magic boomerang. Now, I'm going to happily approve of Bombs avoiding that. However, this early in the race, I could absolutely see him taking that in that scenario, because it's going to allow you to get through things, stun things, especially when you have Lionels and things like on the overworld, which can make things very difficult to traverse.
I'm also glad to see it this early on in the seed, because I was afraid if it showed up later that words would be had.
Oh, words will probably be had no matter what, because it is Zelda, it is a boomerang. But let's see, Bomb's going to continue into level 1, because there's still at least this Triforce he can access, which he's going to go ahead and pick up now. So that's going to give 1 Triforce to each of our runners here. The interesting thing is going to be how they decide to route from here. Sharky looked like he went up to Vanilla 1 first, and Bombs actually went to Vanilla 2 first. So that's interesting. Not normally a route you tend to see. Of course, we did join in progress, so I'm not saying that there wasn't a trip over to Vanilla 3 to start.
True, I'm used to seeing that world wrap nowadays, but these departures will lead for at least us to guess a few strange things that could happen throughout the race.
Yeah, well, the interesting thing about these flags that it does allow for 3 different sort of opening strategies, and that's, of course, to go the Vanilla 3 route, the Vanilla 1 route, or the Vanilla 2 route. I know me personally, I'm a fan of going Vanilla 3 first because it allows me to, if I happen to pick up either the recorder or the raft in that dungeon, I can very easily cash it in and see what I get. And if not, I have the option of wrapping through the Lost Woods to get to the grave to check out the Armos item and do 6 and then Vanilla 9. Or if things are going too badly, I can just head up to where Vanilla 1 is. I personally like that option because it gives me, well, options.
I've rolled a couple of seeds using these flags just for practice, and mostly since I don't know how to do the screen wraps, I tend to go along the coast first, because it gives me a couple of open caves that I can check out, as well as seeing what the ladder item is. Oh, and we have a bow over on Sharky's side.
Yeah, so we're seeing where that bow's location is in level 1. I'm going to assume that Bombs also has it, considering he passed through that room a couple of times. So I'm going to assume Bombs picked that up here. And I do like that route, especially when I was first learning how to do this, and I couldn't screen scroll either. I was a big fan of, especially starting at start, of when the Armos item was guaranteed to be shuffled, of going up quickly, checking the blue ring Armos, and then going up that coast route to level 2. So as a beginner-friendly route, I absolutely love that.
Seems like Sharky's hoping to see what the floor item is by taking care of some of these orange Wizros, and I think they've rolled low, but they've already taken some damage, and the way they stack, it's hard to tell.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that, especially when they, like you said, they do decide they want to stack one on top of each other. It is sometimes difficult to tell if you've hit 1 or 2, and those stone traps there giving Sharky a little bit of the business, as Bombs has made his way up to Vanilla level 5, where he's found 4. Now, he is probably hoping in this level to find at least 1 heart container so he can guarantee himself the white sword item. And is this 3 dungeons that we've seen now, and all of them have contained Wizropes?
Yes. They knew that you were commentating, and the Wizros came out to play.
I mean, as long as they want to come out to play in a seed I'm not playing, I'm good with that, because I still have nightmares of the last seed I played. We're not going to talk about that.
I have nightmares too of them. And Sharky is choosing to avoid the boomerang for right now. It's still early enough in the match where I'd take it, but pretty much I'd take it anytime if it's on the floor, just because that added defense.
Yeah, the biggest downside to the magic boomerang is also sort of its bigger advantage, according to the game, is the distance that it travels as Sharky goes back and stabs it once for good measure, because it allows you to cover the entire screen, which is good. However, if you miss, you have to wait for that entire screen so it will come back to you. So it is one of those, hit or miss. It is good, but it is bad type of deal. So I can see how people would want to avoid it, but at the same time, in my, in one of the races I've done earlier, I stopped by the first race I had in brackets. It was the white sword item. I went back and picked it up, and I'm not going to lie, picking up that boomerang probably gave me the time I needed to avoid an overworld death to win that first round.
And congratulations on that win, too. Yeah, I find that there's only one really not useful item to me, and that's whether I'm playing seeds. The only time it is useful was back in the Pentaforce tournament, and that's the book. The downgrades that it gives far outweighs the slight advantage you have.
Well, we do have a couple of things going on here, and I'll get back to your book inquiry in a second. We've got Bombs here attempting to kill a Manhandla, and Manhandla is not having any of this bomb placement. Manhandla absolutely giving Bombs the business right now. On the other side of the screen, we had Sharky attempting to block clip in through a Goma into a diamond staircase, and Goma also not having any of it. The thing to realize when you are attempting to block clip through a Goma is on the normal block clips, you'll tend to see people try and clip out on the far, the east-west axis of the staircase there. It's easier to clip through a Goma on the diagonals, the southwest and the southeast blocks, as opposed to that, just because of the way the Goma fireballs work. And you see Bombs over there with the white sword item. It is a heart container, thankfully, so we didn't miss out on it, but it was 6 hearts.
That's probably one of the hardest things about at least tracking these seeds is you can go into some of these dungeons. I saw a race the other night where all 3 items in the first dungeon were hearts. And it can make it really hard to try to lay out where you're going to track and how you're going to go with things.
One of my first qualifier races, the only 3 hearts I got in the entire seed were the 3 hearts in level 1. 6 hearts, white wood sword, green tunic Ganon. Not fun.
Even when I'm playing vanilla, 16 hearts, green tunic Ganon, not fun.
That is true. Now back to your book inquiry there for a minute. I agree and I disagree, as Bombs comes across level 5 of vanilla level 1 spot. Yes, the book can be detrimental to the fact of when you have the wand, it adds probably unnecessary lag to the screen. But at the same time, I'm also not a fan of searching out the shops to buy a candle in these flags. So if I come across an early wand and I find an easy book, I'm absolutely going for it and hoping that there's not boulders on the vanilla level 8 screen, because I will absolutely use Bookfire to get myself in there.
Alright, I cannot question that. I think that's going to be one of the amazing things as both these races and continuing on, is the fact that it's kind of making you change all the things we've seen from the tournaments in previous years.
Yeah, I 100% agree with. It definitely is forcing you to change your perspective. And the Vyres that we found over here on Bomb's side didn't die to the aforementioned bombs. That means they rolled up. So until we get Magic Sword and Wand, we are not going to be attempting to farm any bombs off of the Vyres. Sharky going through and doing a very nice job of killing this screen here with the white sword item. Unfortunately, he's also going to be very disappointed that he's not going to be able to pick up this heart.
I had to pause for a second. I was almost expecting him to sword that a couple of times, too.
That is one of the things I love, not just about this randomizer, but of especially the Zelda randomizers in general. There are so many different ways of expressing your rage when items and things go a little less than you want them to. Whether you want to stab things, burn things, bomb things. I love that, just sort of the third of 10 seconds of cathartic, oh, I'm just going to stab the crap out of you because I needed you for the past 20 minutes and you haven't been here. Grrr!
Yes, but that can also lead to some amazing trolls where, say, you're in one of those basement areas of a dungeon and you don't want to grab something, but the key says, Merry Christmas, you may have this.
Those are always the best.
Bombs did not seem to be impressed by anything in that shop, and considering, from what I could tell, apart from... Oh, red ring for the Armos item. Well, so much for that.
Let's say, yeah, that's impressive. I approve of that.
Very early arrow grab. I'd say I'm fine with that, just because, at least from where we joined in, we've got no clue where or when we're going to find the silvers. I'm actually surprised we don't see more arrow buys earlier.
Right. The other thing to keep in mind with the early arrow buys, though, is that arrow buy was made a lot easier by the fact of, hey, I just found a red ring. So if you're one who wants to buy the blue, who wants to get the defense and pick up a blue ring, you're going to save your money. By picking up the red ring there, then you're like, oh, I can afford to buy arrows. Also, we have the bow. So picking up arrows early when you have the bow is a much safer proposition than, oh, I'm going to hopefully buy arrows and pick up the bow first.
We got another heart container down here, and grabbing that, giving 4 extra bits of defense to Bombs, which, considering his not having great luck with some of the enemies, is very helpful.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right there. The enemy sets, at least in the dungeons, have not rolled very kindly right now. Because the first 3 that we saw were, Wizrobes and Gibdos, and we walk into level 8, the first thing we see is, oh, by the way, here, have some blue Landmolas and some very calcium-rich Stalfos as they've rolled up in HP.
Somebody slipped the Stalfos the blue ring before the match started.
But they're still white in color, so they must have tunic shuffle on.
Well, after all, I mean, we've got Red, who is always red.
I just let the RNG decide what color it wants to make me. I've been a pink Wizrobe, a pink Darknut, a pink Gorilla, a purple Gorilla, a white Darknut, a gray Wizrobe. It's so much fun.
I've done that a few times, especially now that I'm becoming a little more comfortable with Randomizer. But when you're playing as a Gibdo, it's still kind of unnerving when you walk into a room and there's 8 links that are just waddling towards you, always facing forwards.
The same can be said about the Stalfos links, but if you really want disconcerting, play at least once as a Wizrobe and just watch a room full of 8 blue link robes teleporting around. That is scary.
The blue Wizrobes, or we were talking about the stacking ability of the orange ones. Considering how much damage they can do with one of their shots, you got 8 links that basically have the magic sword always with full hearts coming at you.
So Bombs is continuing through 8, has decided to take this, the transport staircase you saw a little bit earlier, was killing those darkness to attempt to get bombs. And speaking of bombs, Sharky has found the 37 rupee bombs, and like he did with the blue boomerang, decides to go a little stabby-stabby on it. Although I wouldn't suggest doing stabby-stabby with bombs, because there's a chance they could explode on you, and that's not good.
Yeah, but he's a shark. He's not afraid of nothing, except for getting punched in the nose.
And probably being, wrapped up in a stupid children's song. The guy says this whose file names the entire 7 weeks have been Baby Shark do.
I was almost expecting you to break into tune with that. And Sharky is now stabbing where the red ring was. Okay.
Yeah, some people opt to just want to keep color, and sometimes if you have random tunic color on, you're just going to go ahead and get the same tunic color. So he has the red ring, he's just still in the typical green. And before all of you in the chat make the comment about Baby Shark as a recorder tune, I cannot confirm or deny that it exists as a recorder tune, but I can confirm the fact that the sheet music for Baby Shark as a recorder tune was given to Fred.
I think I feel sorry for Fred.
Oh, don't feel sorry for Fred. He brings it on himself with some of the dad jokes that he'll make. But anyway, so we have both of our owners here in level 8. Sharky doing one of my favorite tricks in the game is when it comes to when the Dig Dogger splits into 3, or the Landmolas or Moldorms, you can kill one of them and then leave the room and come back in, and all of them will be dead.
That's actually one of the first tricks I learned from watching these races in the previous years, and it's always helpful to have less things to take care of.
Yeah, absolutely. And when it comes to tricks, as we have an early Triforce here in level 8 for bombs, when it comes to tricks, the game never assumes that you know how to do a clip or a trick. So there will always be a way to get someplace without utilizing a ladder clip or a HUD clip or things of that nature. So if you can't do them, you're still trying to learn, because I know the first times I tried to play the game, I didn't know how to clip. Don't worry about it, because the game never assumes you know how to do that. So there will always be a way around.
Right now, over on Bomb's side, he might be ladder blocked out of an item, as he again chooses to avoid picking up the Triforce and explore more of the dungeon.
I don't blame him on that one bit. Try and get as much exploration done as you can, especially in this bigger level, before you mark down that you are blocked in some way. He's going to pick up the Triforce here now, mark off to come back here for later. Hopefully, he's hoping that he doesn't have to come back here, because having to come back and dig through a level like this, especially for something like the Recorder or the Raft, can be an absolute pain.
I'd be more afraid of if you have to dig out level 7, because at least with these seeds having the opportunity for 3 items, if you have to come dig through here, you have 3 different things you can get, as opposed to level 7, which is still going to be just as huge, but with a smaller yield.
In shapes in particular, like in vanilla, like if this was still the first 3 weeks with no shapes, I would 100% be on board with you. In shapes, I actually would rather dig 7 than 6, because while you are correct, 7 is going to be a huge dungeon, and we'll have only the 2 items compared to 8's 3. 6, just by the way the algorithm works, tends to be bigger than 7. So I would much rather have to dig a 7 in this set of flags than 6. Don't get me wrong, I want to walk into level 1 and get Recorder, Raft, Silver Arrows, walk into level 2, get Bow and Red Ring and be like, hey, I'm good, let's go.
Could you deal that seed up for me?
Have you seen the seeds I deal?
That's true, you're pretty much the 3rd scariest person to hear is dealing a seed.
Yeah. Yeah, I like Schadenfreude. I like trolling people, so we're going to do that. And speaking of the aforementioned level 7, we are in fact in level 7 on Bomb's side, which turns out is up at Spectacle Rock.
And more of your good buddies, the Blue Wizros.
Whoa. Good buddies? Like you assume I'm on, like, you know, a first name basis with these guys? No. Like, I mean, they're my buddies now because I don't have to deal with them, but whenever I'm playing this, there are words that I can't say on a family-friendly stream that I call these things.
I think we all have those same words. I think those are their names. But he took care of him pretty good, and he's taking off. I almost thought he was going to check the block before I remembered that this is the first quest dungeons.
Yeah, I play a lot of second quests. I'm like, oh, he's killing this for the staircase. Oh, wait, no. That room in particular, that 5x2 room, can only have an item drop in level 1. So unless it's a shutter door, there's really no need to kill that room in any other dungeon besides level 1.
The various special rooms, I know there's a couple of them, especially in First Quest. Those can sometimes throw me off, because if you go into a different dungeon and the enemy sets being so different, I have made the mistake of accidentally killing off the wrong thing, forgetting which dungeon it belongs to.
Oh, I do that all the time. There are special cases, like any room, especially in shapes, any room can appear in any dungeon. It's that every dungeon has its own specific set of locations where an item can drop on the floor. And speaking of items on the floor, hey, how about that ladder?
Well, now if he wants, he can go back into 8 and check out some more of that dungeon, but I think he's going to wait till he gets recorder for that.
I 100% would agree with you. The only thing I could potentially see is because he is up here at Spectacle Rock, it wouldn't surprise me to see him go back to 8 just because that's the path it could take him on. But from up here, he could go back to 8, he can go back to vanilla level 5's location, which was level 4, or he could up A and go ahead and try to figure out what else was going on in either level 1 or buy a candle and go check out what's at the vanilla 8 spot, things of that nature. But he's definitely going to be finishing up this 7 because all things considered, while that is one heck of an ink blot, it's not an overly large one, it's just spread out, and he's got a good portion of it cleaned out. So especially with the dungeon that's up here at Spectacle Rock, you want to get it and clear all of it out so you don't have to come back.
The fewer backtracks that you have to do, the better, but there's sometimes when you've got no choice but to do the double or the triple dip, and those are just a nightmare, especially with some of these shapes. If you mark off the wrong room, you could be completely going down the wrong path.
Oh, absolutely, and I know I've done that when it comes to mapping 9, because, I kind of cut my teeth on playing shapes, so when I first started, I was mapping out everything. I'm comfortable enough in my shapes at this point where the only dungeon I tend to map out is level 9, and yes, doing that has caused me some hiccups in the past, as we have Bombs going back to pick up the White Sword, or the White Sword Heart here, which I find interesting in the sense of he took the time to go back to it, but didn't check out level 4 unless there was something there that we missed. But by going to pick that up, that tells me Bombs is planning a play for Magical Sword.
Magical Sword seems to have been a bit of the play of the day for a lot of these races. I've even seen some very fast seeds where winning and losing came down to whoever actually took the longer time to go out of their way to pick up the sword, coming back and winning it just because of that offensive advantage.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with that. And we have, a below average large secret, but picking up the 88 rupees, that will guarantee Bombs the ability to, well, I'm going to say buy a candle, but he has a candle at this point. So he is going, he's world wrapping here. So we are going to get to do the world wrapping. We're going to see what's on the coast here. And he is rewarded with, just a heart container.
He is not afraid of having a good defense.
No, not at all. And I like what he's trying to do. He's trying to wrap himself back into the forest. You'll see this a lot more in vanilla runs, because usually by the time people have the ladder here in these seeds, they're walking up and heading up to hit the raft here. But I like this play of just wrapping over to the forest, because this is going to give him access both to vanilla level 8, which we have seen, and level 2's location, which we know is level 1.
These are some of the tricks I am still trying to learn, like your block clips, your sneaking across the double waters. Some of these, they still amaze me even though I've now been watching for over a year, and the tricks that always turn up in these games continues to leave me astounded and at what can be done.
Yeah, and the biggest advice I can give is CantFindBombs has found level 3 at vanilla level 8 spot. When it comes to trying to practice the block clip, is load up a vanilla game. Go to level 1, and go to the room that you find the bow in, because that's a diamond staircase. And there's no enemies in there, so you don't have to kill anything, it's just got spike traps. And you can go ahead and practice in that room as much as you want. And the biggest key to me when it comes to doing the block clip is a lot of people see on screen, they see a lot of runners do it and it's super, super fast. That's because there's been a lot of practice going on. The block clip is not one of those frame perfect movements that or inputs that you hear about when it comes to speedrunning. It's not. You can take your time with it. You don't have to rush. You can sit there, take your time and practice so you get it, and you keep practicing. And eventually it'll become to the point where you know how to do it. But that's the biggest advice I can give someone trying to learn how to do the block clip is don't rush, because it doesn't need to be rushed.
I might try a cedar. I might try doing that on vanilla after we get done with this race. Which, the way these rooms are loaded, this could be an. If Bombs gets more bomb drops, he's actually finding as many as he needs. But the enemies are packed in all these rooms. It's been pretty much max every time.
Yeah, that has absolutely been the case. And now Bombs is going to pick up his 10th heart, which is going to give him a 20% chance at picking up that magical sword when and if he eventually goes back to level 8. And again, if I can do a little shilling here for learning how to do the block clip, if you're trying to learn how to do the block clip and you need some visual aids, there's a wonderful website that's been put together. It's more for the vanilla speedrun, but it allows you to do the tricks, and that's redcandle.us. I'm going to go ahead and put it here in the Twitch chat in a minute. And again, it's redcandle.us for those who might be watching this later. But it is a fantastic resource, not just for learning how to do the block clip, but learning how to line up the screen scroll, learning how to properly fight Dark Nuts, as you can see Bob's doing here. It is a wonderful visual resource.
That'll come in handy. Isn't there also a technique where if you stand like sword sideways at a Dark Nut, it'll sometimes take damage as well?
So basically, it's a technique you'll tend to see most often in reverse C rooms, where if you stand at a 90-degree angle to a Dark Nut and stab down at it, you will be able to hit it as its hitbox comes into view, or comes into Link's sword, and you'll be able to walk by it. That's sort of the trick that's used to get around Dark Nuts in tight quarters. Now, there was a question in chat that I do want to answer, and that's how do you figure out how to do the Ganon fight to get the stun lock? And the stun lock is an interesting animal, because it's an inexact science, because after you hit Ganon, there is a 50% chance he's going to spawn in the bottom left side of the room, and a 50% chance he's going to spawn on the bottom right side of the room. Now, when you hit him and you have him in that section of the room, what you want to do is you don't want to necessarily sit there and mash the A button. It's a rhythmic mash. It's a boom, 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 boom. It's a rhythmic mash. So the answer to that question is get yourself a way to get save states. Save state in Ganon's room, and just practice. I forget exactly who has it, but if you ask around in the Z1R Discord, someone can get it for you. There is a file that takes off Ganon's invisibility, so you can see how he moves and allow you to work that. The general answer is Ganon moves in a figure 8 pattern, but ultimately the answer is once you stab him, he'll either spawn to the bottom left or the bottom right, and you kind of have to just get lucky as to when you start the stab, but then it's not a constant mashing of the A button, it's a rhythmic mash.
And CantFindBombs picks up his Triforce in 3. I know I think one of the previous tournaments, Crystal Saver used a technique where he would have the flute out, and he would sword, then hit the flute, and then by the time the flute was done, he could sword again. I ain't 100% sure that's how he did it fully, but that's the way it looked on the screen. And CantFindBombs is back to try to find that item, even though he got the Triforce.
Yep, and actually that's exactly what Saber does. Saber is a master of doing things that you can use to help you out. The recorder is something. Now, a lot of times he'll use the recorder and the pause strats, he won't use select swap, to allow him to analyze the room and figure out how he's going to move. Basically, when you play the recorder, it pauses everything on the screen for a second, so it gives you a chance to take in what you're watching and react.
I tried doing his pause strats once, and I learned you do not try that the first time you roll a seed.
No, Sharky gonna go ahead and come across his ladder here in 7, so you know he's happy about that. I'm not gonna lie, I'm super happy to find the ladder, but I'm also one of those, crazy people who, I'm always assuming the ladder isn't required until it is, and I will gamble the absolute crap out of it. So when you happen to come across the ladder in the scope of, hey, I'm trying to find this anyway, it's good.
I'm kind of the same way, and yeah, it's a bit hit or miss on the results. especially if it ends up being required in 9. But if it's right there in the middle of the floor and I'm just got to walk over it, fine, grab it, go. You're on your way to the next room already.
Yep. Now, one thing to take a note of here in this level 3, and this goes to anyone in Shape who is playing in a Shapes dungeon. The way that the game works is, doesn't matter whether you come in from the top, the left side, the right side, one room in every dungeon has to touch the bottom row. So if you are exploring a dungeon and you haven't made your way to the fully complete bottom row yet, you know there at least has to be one there. Case in point, as you can see at the bottom of this 3, where Bombs is, there is that one room touching. I mentioned that because when he saw his mini-map, I thought he was, one missing. So every dungeon will have one room touching that bottom row. Just something to keep in mind when you're trying to find the bomb hole.
Is it still laid out the same way as previous tournaments where 1 through 6 was one 9x16 grid, and then the other 3 had their own special grid as well?
Yep, that is the way the Shapes algorithm works. Not just the Shapes algorithm, that's the way the dungeons work even in the vanilla game. If you go look up a map of the way that the vanilla dungeons work, the original 1 through 6, the eagle, the manji, the moon, the snake, they all fit together like they're puzzle pieces, so they're all on that same grid. So yeah, so 1 through 6 have their own 16x16 grid they all will fit in, and then 7, 8, and 9 will also have that same one. And that grid pattern is the reason why level 6 tends to be bigger than everything else, because usually 1 through 5, oh yeah, they're just here, and then there's just a whole bunch of room. 6 is like, hey, I got all this room to spread out, I have all the blankets to myself.
Sometimes I'm also afraid that that's going to lead to 2 little outliers, and right in there is going to be where the Triforce and the floor drop will be. Way off, disconnected from everything.
You mean the best kind of rooms? Speaking of the best kind of rooms, that final room that Bombs couldn't initially find in level 3 turned out to be the best kind of weapon upgrade room, as there is a white sword.
Even though he's got 20% to pick up the magics, it's still just good to have it. Oh, and speaking of one disconnected room out in the middle of nowhere...
Yeah, I thought you were going there because you remembered that level 1 had the disconnected room and you were just setting it up perfectly for that. I'm gonna go with that's what you were planning the whole time.
Oh, of course. I'm a genius that way.
Just pretend like you were going that way the whole time. It's all gonna be good.
Actually, taking a chance to look at this ink blot, it's looks to me like it's Link firing off one of his sword beams.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. And so, again, we are about 40 minutes into this race here. So, for those of you who might be new here, might just be tuning in, or who are coming here from the raid that we just got, this is the round of 64 here in the 2019 Zelda 1 Randomizer tournament. Sorry about my phone going off there. As I was saying, this is the 2019 Zelda 1 Randomizer tournament. I am the Green Lou Effect. With me is Dead Boy, and we are here doing a Game 1 match in the round of 64 between CantFindBombs and Sharky2107.
And currently, CantFindBombs has 5 Triforces to Sharky's 4. However, right now in the seed, that doesn't really mean much because there is still so many items that are required for this seed left to find that they're still level pegging. It can change either way.
Yeah, the biggest thing to keep in mind here is the fact that with this being the way this tournament is laid out, all of the 9 dungeons are in their same 9 locations that they are in the vanilla game. That doesn't necessarily mean that the dungeons are the same, but those 9 caves are going to be there, and there is the recorder in level 1. So that is one of the required items that we were just talking about that is needed. So as I was saying, as you're seeing, Bombs is coming out of what was level 1, but it's in level 2's location. So that recorder is required to get into one of the dungeons. We still need ourselves a raft, and ultimately, we still need ourselves some silver arrows as well.
Now, in this one, I believe that with it being at least close to vanilla, that the silver arrows is the only one of the all-important items that can be found in level 9.
That is correct, and the reason that with these flags, what it does is the important items cannot be in level 9. And what the game defines as an important item is any item that could potentially block access to or progress through a dungeon. And those items are the bow, the raft, the ladder, the power bracelet, and the recorder. Now, the reason the power bracelet is that, it's not necessarily in this set of flags because it doesn't open any dungeons, but when full cave shuffle is on, there is a chance that a dungeon could be under a power bracelet blocked location, which is why it qualifies under that set of categories.
And with everything else being shuffled, I believe that the any roads are still pretty much vanilla. At least that's how it was in the last 3 races that I saw. And CantFindBombs has actually gone back up to level 4 to hopefully clear some more of that out. And do you think potentially going back to level 8 as we discussed earlier?
Well, the thing here is now with access to the recorder, finding Triforces in dungeons becomes much bigger, especially in the larger dungeons like that 8. Because now, if you want to go back there and explore, all you have to do is play the recorder and it will take you back there. So the recorder, I know when I'm playing, getting an early recorder I love because it allows me to play a little more fast and loose when it comes to gambling on my dungeons. So coming back here to 4, it's great because you want to go through here and you want to get through as quickly as you can. And with the recorder and bow and arrow, there is nothing and the ladder, there is nothing in this dungeon that could block him from an item standpoint. So coming in here, getting the items that you need out of here, and getting the Triforce, and just forgetting that this 4 exists, and this Manhandler probably is what stopped him last time. It's a wonderful play, especially considering the location of this level.
Personally, when I'm not trying to go for a better time or trying to improve my speed strats, I like getting an early recorder just so I can turn the tunes onto random and see what's going to pop up for me.
Oh yeah, that is a fantastic feature, is the randomize the recorder tune, as we find only a heart container in level 4. I say only, but that again, that puts bombs up to 11 hearts, which is going to give him now a 40% chance of picking up the magical sword. On your right side of your screen, you have Sharky, who still only has 6 hearts, but with his candle in hand, he is now going to be making his way over to the forest, killing this blue moblin to try and get some bombs, doesn't get the global count there, and he's going to find level 3 at the vanilla level 8 spot.
I'm actually surprised that he just got his candle now, but then again, I'm going off of other tournaments where it's one of the first things you'll get in some of the seeds even before you get a sword. And to see a candle grab this late in the seed just seems a little bit odd to me.
And you said it exactly there. In previous tournaments, because of the way Cave Shuffle work, there is so many spots that you want to burn that a candle is a high priority. In this set of flags, there's literally only one spot that you need to burn, and it's the one Sharky's burning right now. So I am 100% in that camp of, I am going to delay as long as possible to picking up a candle, because I don't want to necessarily go out of my way to find one, as Bombs is fighting the Triforce in level 4. I am 100% on that camp of, I don't want to have to deal with finding a candle. I'm going to hope that I find either the red candle or the wand book combination in dungeons before I try and figure out, okay, which store is going to have the candle, which thing's going to. If I happen to be passing by a store, I'll stop in, like if I'm going from vanilla level 6 up to vanilla level 9, I'll stop into that store that's to the east of the Armos. But I'm not going to go out of my way to find one.
I agree too, mostly because of the point you said about getting the red candle. That's usually what I try to hold out for in other solutions, but sometimes you never know that the red candle can in fact be blocked and you need to get the blue candle. Did I miss CantFindBombs? I thought he got both items out of 4, but yet he's back here playing with Wizzies again.
I was agree with you. I thought we had found the first item in 4 as well, but it did not, because if you remember, we made the comment about he wanted to find a heart container coming out of 4 to go to the white sword, and he never did. So he did only, in fact, just find the staircase, but I was with you there. And speaking of items, there's Das Book.
Famous of song and story, even in our commentary. Is he going to pick it up or bomb it?
Bombing the book, arrowing the book, burning the book. He is not a fan of the book.
He's in my camp, then.
I mean, we mentioned people doing things, like Sharky has stabbed Bomb, Sharky has stabbed the blue boomerang. No, Bombs is going all out. We've got fire, we've got arrows, we've got sword, we've got bombs. That book got everything.
And we're about to go get some delicious soda from the medicine man.
Okay, I was like, wait, you see that? But the letter is up there, yeah. No, it looks like we're probably going to be heading to level 7 here, so we're going to be quiet here for a second so you guys can hear the wonderful recorder tune coming up. All right, there was your recorder tune. Go ahead and put your guesses into chat, as we have found level 2 underneath the lake, and Sharky has found his 7th heart in level 3.
These are my favorite enemies in all of Zelda. They just run right into your sword.
Oh, ropes are fun until they roll high HP.
The same can be said when you get the +4 to Keys, but instead, we have the Patra showing up for the first time tonight.
Yeah, Patra is always an interesting one here because it technically falls under the category of 2 different HP thresholds. The main body that you see Bomb stabbing right now is a boss, so its HP is not going to be adjusted any +or -2 that we have here. However, the little orbital Patrites, as I like to call them, those are considered normal enemies, so those actually are going to have their HP shuffled +or -2.
We've got a segmented level 2, and I did not know that was a TGE original. I've always called them Patrites.
I never said it was an original, I just said that's what I tend to call them. The only TGE original we have here, we haven't found yet, and that, of course, is the one and only Lord Banana, but we're not going to find it here in this room in 2. Instead, we are going to find a heart container, bringing Bombs up to 12, which now gives him a 60% chance of picking up the magical sword, and that double dip of 8 is looking mighty likely right now, because if we don't find the raft here as the second item in 2, I believe that we either have to go back to 7 and find that floor item, or go to 8 and pick up the 2 items there.
The floor item in 7 was the ladder, so I'm definitely going to be agreeing with the play on 8. Though I'm really hoping we'll find a map here soon so we can take a look at what we're dealing with.
Yeah, you see Bombs attempting to do a reverse block clip there, and does get it. That one is much harder than having to do the regular block clip, trust me. I still can very rarely do the reverse clip, but it is nice and fun. And ask and ye shall receive, there is your map.
I promise you I did not watch the seed beforehand. And he's picked up his Triforce in 2.
Yeah, that's a great call there, because you're going to go back in and pick up the second item here anyway. But considering that was in the very bottom of the segment and you're not going to go back there, picking up the Triforce, the absolute right call. And as Sharky picks up the Triforce in 3, which is also the right call, getting him his 4th Triforce piece, he's going to have to go back in. And hey, there's the second item in 2, one room to the south. That is always a good pickup. That will increase our firepower there. There is the wand.
It also increases our likelihood of a double dip, as it does not technically open up any pathways to our remaining dungeon.
Yeah, no, we are definitely heading back to 8 at this point, and Bombs, instead of recording to 8, is going to take this long way, because you're going back up here anyway. You might as well take a look at the magic sword, see if you can hit the 60% chance.
And if he can't get it, I bet he graces it with a bomb.
Well, we're not going to find out if he would, because 12 hearts is in fact enough to get the magical sword, so Bombs is going to be very happy. The other thing to note is that with the magical sword and the wand that he now has in his possession, those Vires that rolled up HP, if he wants to use the one-frame tap trick and hit the A and B buttons at the same time to use both the wand and the magical sword, he can potentially kill the Vires in one hit, causing them to potentially be able to drop bombs.
I know you can do the same trick with a Dig Dogger that you can with those enemies there, but sometimes there's that catharsis you were talking about before. There's a catharsis in just really taking them out.
Oh, there is nothing better to me personally when you're playing. Like, I tend to practice on plus or minus 4 HP enemies, as Sharky does get the map here in 3, which is going to help him figure out where he needs to go. There is a wonderful catharsis when the Landmos roll 0 HP, and you throw whatever boomerang you happen to have, and it just comes back and rolls through every one of them. I've got a couple of clips, I think, of a boomerang just coming back through and hitting every segment of both Landmos in a room and them just dying, and it's the best feeling.
If you happen to come across those clips, if you could put them up in the Discord, I'm pretty sure others, including myself, would love to see those.
If I remember to find them and take a look for them, I will see if I have them. So Sharky is going to continue on his way through level 3, knowing at this point he pretty much has to bomb down. He was in the exact same problem that Bombs ran into, is didn't bomb down in that one room. So looking at his mini-map, looking at the map in the corner, he knows where he has to go, and I guarantee he is going to be very, very happy picking up that white sword. Just going to get through this one room of blue darkness. 2 of them being in the middle of there, that's fine. It's that one on the end that's going to be a bit of a pain to deal with. And this is where that trick you were talking about is going to come into play. Sharky doing it exactly there, just stabbing down and letting the Dark Knight walk through the sword and just not doing any damage.
I like that trick, although it's one that sometimes I still have a hard time with, because it's a triple segmented 8.
Yes, it is.
We've had our first mugger room.
A mugger room into a mugger room.
Alright, this is starting to be more of a troll that I like. One that doesn't take up too much time, yet gives us something we can laugh about together.
Yeah, it seems to me that in these set of flags, I have been seeing, for some reason, more and more segmented level 8s. Like, this is like the 4th or 5th one I've seen in the past week and a half. One other thing to mention here is we've seen the map for level 7, and as we mentioned the grids earlier in the commentary here, level 7 and 8 take up one part of that 8x16 that we were talking about. If you take the map for level 7 and put it into this map of level 8, it's pretty much a perfect fit.
Yeah, it is. I can see it now, because you can see the trailing up and the jutting out part.
Yeah, so that's another hint to do here in shapes, is if you've only found the map of one of them, either 7 or 8, you can have a general idea of where you're supposed to go on the other one just by fitting that map into each other.
Unfortunately, there's nothing really like that for level 9, because that pretty much just is Swiss cheese. CantFindBombs deciding to up an A, which I can understand because he was on the wrong side of that Ochute route.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you are 100% right. Level 9 just tends to be one giant block of what the heck. Alright, so continuing on here, Bombs, knowing at this point he has to make his way into the bottom 2 segments here in 8, going to be disappointed to realize, wait, this was the heart container that we found earlier. Sharky has now made his way back into level 1, where he is going to be very happy to find his recorder.
And CantFindBombs is starting to run out of rooms for things to be in. This one is going to be a staircase, and I think it's going to lead to the third segment.
Oh, which one are you picking? The 4 down the bottom right or the 5 down below? You got 2 options here because there's going to be a staircase down there that's going to lead to another one too. So these last 9 rooms are going to be very fun.
I'm hoping for the 5, just to add that little bit of... No, it takes them to the bottom of the first thing. It's extra segment.
Unless there was no way of getting here by that. This is delicious. I love this. Oh, that's right. No, this was the way he couldn't go because there was a ladder block involved, I believe. What?
I'm confused.
Oh, I see what's going on here. If you look at the map, if you look at the mini map, I think that room that's 3 below the E, I think he has to get up in there. But in order to do it, he has to go up and around. So the up and A that he was doing, which we thought was the right idea, turns out it wasn't because he has to get to that room directly above him right now.
And he's got to be at least mentally kicking himself for that. But at least now that he knows, I'm going to guess a bomb wall.
Yep. And do not adjust your screens. We didn't lose Sharky over there on the right side. He was hiding in the doorway to try and not to get hit by Wizrobes. Unfortunately, did exactly that and got hit by Wizrobes.
The Wizrobes do not like to play hide and seek.
No, they don't, because the blue ones can chase after you into the doors, and it's not fun. So, at this point, considering the number of keys that we see Bombs has, anybody willing to venture a guess what he's about to find here in this dungeon?
As much as I'd like to, things have been different this tournament. I'm going to say that the any key will be a 9.
Fair enough, but I always am of the opinion of, at this point, you have way more keys than you're probably going to need, which means the any key is going to be incoming here soon.
Yes, but wouldn't that touch of chaos just be the TGE touch?
I mean, I have no problem with a little chaos, but, you know, if people are going to be digging for items in 9, I want it to be the silver arrows, because that's just more fun.
That's why I think the greatest hint that has ever been given on any randomizer is the silvers to kill the beast lie somewhere.
That is a fantastic one. And there is another heart container for Bomb, so he is now sitting at 13 of a maximum of 16 hearts, so that is very, very good for him. And this is going to be the final item here in level 8, and he is rewarded with, well, that's kind of a required thing. That's our raft. We knew it was either going to be in here or the staircase in 7, so that's going to lead us to level 6.
I'm a little sad by that, because I've grown fond of having to find the raft to actually locate 9.
I mean, you're not wrong there. It's a good thing, though, when the raft, to me personally, when the raft is blocking 9, you find it super late, because you're not missing out on anything, because 9's the last place you're going to go. When the raft is blocking something like a ladder that is required to get through a triple segmented 8, then you get a little salty. I've been there. But here is the final level we're going to need, and technically Bombs is still looking for silver arrows. Unfortunately, still looking for silver arrows and having to dig through 6 is not the spot you want to be.
And judging by the look of things, we still have the silvers we could find. There's a possibility of the bracelet of power that could be found, as well as the Anarchy and the Lord Banana.
Yeah, well, assuming that if we're under the assumption we've gotten both items out of 7, I don't believe we are, but if we're under that assumption, we know that one of the 2 items here in 6 has to be the power bracelet. So if we come across the other item, then we know we can just grab the Triforce and go and dig in 9. Sharky is going to be heading back towards Recorder Lake after picking up his recorder that was sitting in level 1. So he's going to be able to go ahead and dig his way through level 2, which is going to be a very nice thing for him. He's going to be super happy to see that wand.
You were right about level 6. This is a massive map.
But the good thing here is that we found the map fairly early, because there is nothing worse than wandering through a level, especially a level the size of 6, where you are just trying to bomb aimlessly. And Sharky, getting his items confused, thought he had gotten the Wrath and not the Recorder. And speaking of items, there is the aforementioned wooden boomerang, Lord Banana, in level 6. Sharky gonna go ahead over to the level 7 location, and Bombs is gonna find the Triforce in the same room as the wooden boomerang.
Before they found that, I was actually questioning one of his moves. There is a lone room that had a key on top of it that will not be able to be accessed from any other place. I probably would have checked that out before continuing on. If one of the items is not the power bracelet, then that could be a mistake, potentially.
True, but the thing to realize is that room is fairly close to the start. So if you go through the rest of it and it's not there, a quick up A and 2-3 rooms away you have it. So I can understand not wanting to waste the key there and just going ahead and seeing what the rest of the dungeon entails. I like that move. Sharky gonna go ahead and encounter this Patra here at this point. I don't care whether I have the red ring and the magical sword or what, I still hate seeing a Patra no matter how I'm equipped.
I agree, but there is one thing that these two racers did get lucky in. It's just your standard, one. It's not the one that tends to expand and go so far up above the map that it reaches up and hits you from behind.
Yeah, no, definitely. And for those of you who might just be joining us, again, we are about an hour into this second round race, second round game 1 race in the round of 64 here in the 2019 Zelda 1 Randomizer Tournament. I am TGE. With me is Dead Boy, and we are here as CantFindBombs is looking through level 6 to find his last Triforce piece, which he knows where it is, and potentially find the silver arrows. Sharky is here in level 2. He has found the one. He is still looking for the Triforces out of 2, 4, and 6. He is also looking for the Wrath, which is buried deep in 8.
You were talking about all the keys. There's been at least 3 or 4 keys that he's found in this one. We have another potential for a very annoying any key discovery.
Yeah, but at this point, your prediction of any key being in 9 definitely has a lot more merit than it did when we were talking about things in level 8 earlier. Sharky taking a death there. That's actually a decent, I don't want to say a good death, but it is a good death in the sense of it's going to bring him back to the start, which means all he has to do is take that staircase. That's one room of start, and he'll make his way down to where the Triforce is. I am very much a firm believer of once I get a compass, especially in a smaller dungeon like a 1 or a 2, I'm going to make my way towards where the compass says the Triforce is and hope to try and get a room drop or floor drop on my way there.
I definitely agree with that. The smaller the dungeon, especially 1 or definitely 2, the more time you can spend just working your way in so you don't have to double dip these later, the better.
Yeah, no, the only time you're gonna really want, and I say want in quotation marks there, to have to double dip a small level, especially like a 1, a 2, or a 3, is if you go in and you're ladder blocked, or if it's early and you're key blocked. That's really going to be the only reason you end up double dipping any of those levels. You really don't want to do that. The bigger levels you're slightly more okay with doing, if that makes any sense. because they tend to have more ways for you to be blocked, whether it be bait, whether it be ladder, whether it be arrows, whether it be recorder. So it is one of those, I'm much more likely to have to double dip a bigger dungeon, but I want to do my best to not have to double dip any dungeons.
We're having some more lag over on CantFindBombs' side, but mostly for the sheer amount of the dark nuts that are here today.
Oh yeah, absolutely. When you have dark nuts are actually one of the easier enemies to deal with lag when it comes to being in dungeons, because they just wander around. They don't fire anything. So lag in dark nut rooms is actually nice because it allows you to find ways to maneuver around them. And there is the second item in level 6. It is the red candle. That does mean the power bracelet is in level 7, and the magical key and the silver arrows are in fact going to be in level 9. So as I was saying, though, with Gorillaz and Wizrobes, both of them fire projectiles, which makes the lag in rooms where there's a ton of them even worse.
So now that we basically know where everything is, all that's left to do is to grab the Triforce and make our way over to level 9.
Yeah, Bombs is definitely going to be happy to know that he doesn't have to go back to dig that 7 because he found an item that wasn't the power bracelet. So even though you're having to dig 9 to find the silver arrows, the fact that you know all you have to do is dig 9 to find the silver arrows is much nicer.
Considering the amount of hearts that he has, and he gets bopped back back to the level, but considering the amount of hearts in the red ring, would you stop by and grab a potion for that Ganon room, or just put your faith in the combat strats to carry you through the day?
Seeing as what I tend to do is, I think it's exactly what Bombs is doing here. Nope, he just whistled to the wrong location. Oh, did we not get the second item out of 5? No, we didn't. I thought we had all got the second item out of 5, so our prediction might be wrong there about everything being in 9. So hold that thought. I thought we had gotten more things out of level 5. The answer to that question is I tend to leave the potion shop that's right directly below level 1, the potion heart thing, and I'll pick up the potion there. That's what I tend to do, is I tend to leave myself a potion. Whether I've got red ring or not, I like to have that safety potion.
The longer I play Randomizer, the more I agree with you. I started off as a person who always grabbed every heart. But another thing that I just noticed is that depending on the level, we might have a bait blocked item here in level 5 as well.
I mean, I'm always happy to see a bait block. I don't necessarily know if we're gonna be needing the bait block per se, but I believe we did get this item. Oh no, this was just the connector staircase. Okay, yeah. So yeah, we still have the 2 items here in 5. So hold the thoughts on what we were talking about. We might be wrong as to the item position.
Either we're wrong, or he's about to pick up even more hearts.
Well, I mean, at this point, I kind of hope we're wrong, because that would just be funny.
True, we've kind of set ourselves up for either massive success or a massive fall.
I mean, at this point, the massive failure is absolutely, going to be the funny thing here. And there is yet another key for Bomb. I really want to see the map of this 5.
Well, last time I asked and received. Let's see what happens when you ask. Not in this room.
Nothing. So Sharky making his way back up to level 4, and there is the aforementioned power bracelet that we thought was in 7 that turns out to be in 5, so that turns all of this up on its head. Bombs is now looking for the staircase item here in level 5, and as I was saying, Sharky is going back to level 4. I like this play for Sharky. He doesn't have the Triforce in 4, so going back to a dungeon where you don't have the Triforce, before going back to dig a dungeon for items that you do have the Triforce, is always going to be the play I recommend.
I agree, just because of being able to fully complete something, and he can assume that there's an item here that might help him. Another Patra, and this time in a room with some water.
Yeah, these rooms that tend to force you to only move in one direction, because ladder you can only move either up, down, or left, right on, are much more difficult to fight Patras in than rooms where you have much more freedom of motion. So if I'm going to find a Patra, I'd much rather fight it in like a that's just a chair, a level 5 here, and there is the heart container. So we were ish correct, but there was the heart container you were talking about. I would much rather fight a Patra in a reverse C room than I would in that NSU room.
Same here. I mean, even if I gotta fight my way around to get to the better part of the sea, it's at least easier to take a couple of bops from there than to forget what direction you mounted the ladder on and be stuck in the water taking hit after hit.
Yeah, Bomb's making a very interesting play here. Opting to take the 33% chance that silver arrows are in 7, as opposed to the 66% chance that the silvers are in 9. Now, what this does guarantee is if he does go to 9, that if he doesn't find him here, that he knows they'll be in 9. I personally, again, this is my personal thing here, I would be going to 9 at this point, because even if you don't find the silver arrows in level 9, what you are going to find is you're going to be able to map yourself through, and you'll probably find Ganon and Zelda, and that is good information to have. So me personally, I would be playing the odds and doing the 66% chance that the silvers are in 9 as opposed to coming back here to 7, especially considering the location and everything. But again, that is just how I would be playing it.
I probably would have played it the same way, mostly because I've already got the Triforces. I can open it up and at least see if one of the hints, since all 3 of the muggers were taken up, if one of the hints says that it's here, it saves you from doing a whole lot of exploration. If it says that it's elsewhere, you're very limited on where you have to look, and you can still, as you said, route your ways to the other places.
Right. The one thing to keep in mind is that will work if helpful hints are turned on. We've got community hints turned on here, so we're not going to get any useful bits of information from any of the old men in level 9. We're just going to get the, hey, here's a trolly hint, I hope you speak Hylian. The only good news for Bombs here in this 7 is he's looking for a stair drop, so any room that doesn't have a shutter door, he can just not worry about killing and just move on and try and find a staircase. So that is the one advantage, and here is said staircase. So let's see if the gamble was right. Nope, that is just going to be our transport, so we're still looking for a staircase.
I think that the ultimate way we could have failed is not only is the silvers not in 9, if the silvers end up here, that is the ultimate troll fail for us.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Especially if you end up trying to search for them at 9. And that's the interesting thing. Bombs attempts to bomb left into that room and can't. That tells me that's a troll staircase location with a corridor. So he knows he's not going to have to worry about going into there. And at this point, we are going to have to bomb ourselves into a couple of the rooms down on the right-hand side that we haven't made our way into yet to find our staircase item.
And CantFindBombs is now up to 14 keys as Sharky decides to just keep sorting at the Pose Voice, having not bought the wood arrows himself.
And I can definitely understand not purchasing the wood arrows, because I am 100% in the camp of it's like me with the candle. I'm not going to go out of my way to find a shop to purchase the arrows unless I 100% know that a Goma is blocking my progress, and that was a fantastic Patra kill from Bombs, as Sharky is getting eaten by pancakes, but giving them all of the wand that they can handle.
I agree with you, but just in terms of how the routing ended up turning, that might be a very good thing that CantFindBombs had the shop right next to where he found Red Ring, as you said back then, rather sagely, making it easy for him to make that.
So this is interesting. I thought this is going to be the room that we had to go in based off of Bombs' map, but it looks like we're going to have to go into that extended flap in the second E section, I believe. I wasn't quite paying full attention to everything. Nope, he has to go right here. I knew it was something up in this room, but yeah, he's going to have to go right here in this room. I said right here in this room.
He missed it. I think he missed it. Is there a possibility that he might mistakenly think it's a floor drop?
There's definitely a possibility, but the way he's been doing this, he's been playing this like he's been looking for the stair drop. So I think this could just be one of those situations where you're in a race, and I know I've done it, where you just look at things and you just don't process it, so you're just like, I'm going to double check and be sure. And that is a double ball. Hi! I heard you wanted more Patras.
Well, I do believe that it is Patra night here at the Club Zelda. It is a 3 Patra minimum.
And wow, we were both wrong. There are the silver arrows, so this was the correct play for Bombs, and that is a heck of a spot for them.
We had the ultimate troll, and it's in a dungeon that Sharky already has the Triforce for, so he's gonna have to want to make the play to dig out that 7 if he wants to find his silvers.
Yeah, no, interestingly enough, you mentioned that as Sharky's going back into 7. Now, here is the thing. Going back into 7 for Sharky here is a much different move than Bombs going back into 7, because Sharky is still looking for the raft. So he is under the assumption of, well, this is probably a smaller dungeon than 8, so I think I want to do this one first, which I'm okay with this move. But by him going through and digging through the 7, he's actually going to find his silver arrows a lot sooner than Bombs did, but Bombs is immediately going to find Ganon.
And we have an opportunity for 4-room bacon today, and it's in a double moat room, which, with the stun lock, shouldn't make too much of a difference, but I hear tell that some of the floor layouts make it a little bit harder sometimes.
Yeah, there is a chance, depending on what room Ganon spawns, and he can be spawned off-center, which definitely does make it interesting. And for those who were asking earlier about how to kill Ganon, you'll notice that when Bombs was sitting there in the corner trying to stab, he wasn't just wantonly mashing the A button. You could definitely see there was a rhythm to the presses, and he got the first 2 hits of that stun lock very nicely. And then Ganon just decided, oops, hey, I'm not going to spawn here, so you have to wait. So that's just the nature of you have to get the rhythm, and you still have to be lucky with where he decides to spawn.
And one thing I noticed during that Ganon fight too is after you get him to where he is vulnerable to the silver arrows, you still have to aim for the lower part of the hitbox, as that first shot went over his head.
Yep, hitboxes in this game tend to skew down and right, which is why if you've noticed, if you are attempting specifically to fight a Gleeok, you will see most runners tend to fight Gleeok from the right-hand side, because the hitbox tends to skew. And speaking of hitboxes skewing, there is Zelda at the top of that room. I don't know if Bombs noticed that. He just has to walk right into that room. Zelda is directly above him. He didn't notice. There he is. I'm like, he didn't notice.
He's going down
Bombs
the stairs.
Didn't notice.
Go up! I am willing you upward through the power of my mind.
Bombs! There he is, Zelda. It completely didn't notice the fact that there was a Zelda there.
And perfect for if this was a Valentine's Day thing, it comes equipped with Zelda and the key to her heart.
Oh, God. Oh, no. No, not you two. Don't go there. But yeah, I thought he was going to take that staircase. I really did. But wow, that Silver's location turned that 9 into something that could have been an absolute nightmare to, oh, hey, here's Ganon, here's Zelda. Fantastic.
Yeah, everybody throw some GGs up in there as we continue to watch Sharky play. That was some funny and amazing stuff, and this was a great race.
Yeah, absolutely. And for those who are watching here live on Speed Gaming, once this race is over, do not go anywhere because we have got a third race right here on Speed Gaming for you. It is yet another Game 1 match. That is going to be Fury SK, who was the winner of the All Boards No Swords tournament, taking on Liquid Husband in Game 1 of their best of 3. That's going to be right here on Speed Gaming immediately following us. Also, 15 total keys. That's a bit much.
If I'm gonna be honest, when I'm playing vanilla, I'll see how many keys I can have left over before picking up the any key in 8. And that's pretty much how many I have left over. It's a vanilla amount of keys, I'm guessing.
I'm not going to lie. I haven't casually played this game in a long time. So whenever I'm running the game or playing the game, it's in some sort of a speed run. So I personally have 0 keys because that's the amount you end with in the speed run. But Sharky's going to have a bit of a harder time here in this level 70 as he does not have the map. And we have got ourselves a CantFindBombs who, not going to lie, we thought for a minute that you couldn't find Zelda. We have got ourselves rated T for...
I got to admit, you almost gave us a heart attack. We're like, is he going to take the stairs? Is he going to go into the left-hand door? The back and forth was amazing.
Sorry, does this work now?
That does work now.
Excellent. Yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah, definitely go back and watch and just watch that part of the VOD because we're both like, what are you doing? No, she's right there. Don't go take the stairs. Like you know when you're watching a horror movie and you're like, no, don't turn around. That's exactly what was happening.
Yeah, I couldn't. I thought I saw the door open in such a way that Zelda was going to be there, but I was like, wait a second, that looks kind of weird. And then I went and tried it because usually my strat level 9 is to do all the exploring I can without the stairs. So that was the way I was going to go anyway. But yeah, it worked.
Yeah, and just of a note here, we do, as you see on the screen, Sharky did decide to throw in the towel here on this seat after having that blue Wizrobe room do what blue Wizrobe rooms want to do. And wow, that was very hard to say. Don't say that because, yeah, it'll get you going. So the other question I have for you, Bombs, is when you went into 7, you had the 1 item left in 7 and the 2 items left in 9. What made you choose to go to 7 over 9?
I hate digging level 9. I'm going to make that play every single time. Just because I had the magical sword, I had the red ring, I had 1 billion hearts, I had 1 billion keys. There was nothing that... it was going to be quicker to dig level 7 than it was to dig level 9. And I already had the floor item in 7, so I was just looking for the staircase, which, of course, as it turned out, it was a Redbird Rad level 7. But... yeah, I'm going to make that play every time, unless, if I were underpowered or if level 7 had some specific reason I thought I was going to get myself into trouble, I wouldn't have done it, but just digging level 9 with all the staircases, it takes forever.
And we're now joined by Sharky here as well, but yes, thank you for proving us all wrong by finding the silver arrows in 7.
Yeah, we were both under the assumption that you had found all the items in level 5. So like, oh, with the power bracelet not being in 6, it has to be in 7. So the silvers are in 9, and then everything just got all confused. But first of all, again, good race there for both of you guys. Again, I asked her like the question that I was asking there, but the one I want to ask both of you guys here is when you're digging through 7 and you find a ladder on the ground in 7, what are you feeling at that point?
PogChamp. I found it pretty early, I think. So I was definitely not. I think I was ladder blocked when I found it. I was pretty excited. And I was hoping I wasn't going to go back to 7, but unfortunately it didn't turn out that way.
Well, for me, finding it probably in a good time, I was like, oh, good, ladder. But then I was so, what was that? The dig log was like, okay, I'm 3/4 block going this way. At least I think I did find that Triforce kind of early on too, digging around. And well, I had to leave there, so at one point, looking for the raft, which I, of course, never found. So
Yeah, the raft was pretty deep in 8. How far along were you when you threw in the towel?
I went back to 7 and kind of got killed a couple times. Like, you know what? I'm done. Plus, I ran out of bombs, so that didn't help either.
Oh, that's no fun.
Yeah, no, the blue wizards did him some dirty.
Yeah, there were a couple of there was some pretty heavy combat in the seed.
All right, so with that, as I did mention here, coming up right here next, we do have a Game 1 match between Game 1 Round 2 match between Fury SK and Liquid Husband. So before we wrap up, any final thoughts for our runners here? Bombs, we'll start with you.
Yeah, everybody stick around and watch Liquid Husband and Fury. That's going to be a fun race.
Yeah, Sharky?
Well, pretty much hype that race up because it should be a good one, and GG's CantFindBombs on Game 1. And we're back at it again tomorrow night, so for Game 2.
Yeah, good luck tomorrow night. Thanks to everybody who put on this race. Deadboy and Greenleaf for commentary, Dark Falls for the tracking, Speed Gaming for hosting this whole thing, and thanks for the race, Sharky. See you tomorrow night.
Thanks for commentating, guys, and Dark Force for tracking as well.
It was a lot of fun, and good luck to you both tomorrow night.
Yep, agreed. And with that, on behalf of both of our owners, please make sure you follow them both if you haven't done so already. So on behalf of both of our owners, our tracker behind the scene, Dark Falls, and of course my commentary partner, Deadboy, I am TGE, reminding everybody to keep hailing and stick around because coming up next, pretty much immediately, is Fury SK versus Liquid Husband. Keep hailing, everybody. We're out.